The decision of my next guest to allow students back on campus in March was supposed to end in complete carnage and disaster. The media ran hundreds of articles predicting as much. The New York Times on March 29th, Liberty University brings back its students and coronavirus too. The next day, the paper's resident buffoon, Paul Krugman, with a Nobel Prize, or Pulitzer Prize, Nobel Prize, wrote that Falwell seems to have created his own personal viral hotspot. On March 31st, the Washington Post claimed an authoritarian power structure brought coronavirus to Liberty University. An ER doctor even went so far as to tell the Daily Beast, if Liberty reopens, people will die. Except none of that happened. According to the school, not a single student or staffer on campus tested positive for COVID. So where are the mea culpas? Liberty University President Jerry Falwell, I'm sure, wasn't expecting any mea culpa, but he joins me now. Jerry, what's your message to the media naysayers, other college presidents who are apprehensive about reopening?
Well, if you're a conservative college president, be careful because they'll come after you. It's totally political. It was totally political. And it was just so reprehensible how they did it. They spent days on campus, the New York Times reporter and the other reporter, ProPublica, and even though there were no trespassing signs everywhere, never called to ask us for any comment, never talked to our on-campus doctor, talked to a doctor who worked for a practice across town, and finally called us on Sunday, March 29th at noon, and gave us till 3 o'clock to comment and when they published. And so we were scrambling, trying to pull everybody together on a Sunday. But that shows their intent. Their intent was to create this false impression. You know, the doctor that they did talk to said there were a few students with upper respiratory, allergy, colds, which COVID is lower respiratory congestion.
Hey, Jerry, so I'm sorry to rush you along here, but you did not see what they all said would happen. This was like a definitive. You were bringing people back to get terribly ill and to become super spreaders of the virus. So none of that happened.
Built for nothing. We have a campus built for 16,000. 1,200 students came back to stay in the dorms for 7 weeks. And they were students who either didn't have high-speed internet at home, who either had elderly relatives living at home, who were international students, and so they had no place else to go. We went totally to online format. By the way, Liberty is like two schools. We have 100,000 adults in the online program, and we spent the last 40 years perfecting it. So no class is bigger than 25 students.
Yeah,
so
you were ready.
I disagree a little bit with what you were saying earlier, because if online is done right, not just haphazardly like we've seen at most universities, every student's talking to each other.
Yeah, we're not going to debate that. I'm talking about children, little children, not so much talking about the colleges. That's a different dynamic, especially for people who don't want to pay huge amounts of money. But Jerry, the thing about this is we got Cambridge University, one of the most esteemed, incredible schools in the world, who've already announced they're not going to have any on-campus learning for the next year. I mean, I'm stunned.
I think that's completely disregarding the welfare of their students. I think colleges have an obligation to do whatever they can to continue the students' education. That's what we did. We did it in a safe manner. But really became the model. We had all takeout at our restaurants. We had social distancing. All the academic buildings were open so they could spread out, and it worked perfectly, and even the one student who was an online student who never was on campus, who tested positive, it turns out he quit school to go into the NFL draft back early in March, but even though he was online, but somehow that got press. And so it's crazy.
I got it. Yeah, Jerry, thank you so much for joining. I'm glad you gave people the choice. If they want to stay home and learn, they could do that.
Yeah,
come back to campus.
It was either that or send them back to hotspots like New Jersey, Illinois, New York, or let them stay here.
Yeah, you could have
keep
saved.
them safe.
You might have even saved some lives. Who knows? But I'd like to know what the immunity is now in your student population. I wish you could do wide-scale immunity testing, because that'd be curious to have. Jerry, thanks so much. Great to see you.
They're young. They're young, so it's not as dangerous for.
All right. Thanks so
much.
much.
Yeah.
All right.